This is crazy as hell, bro. I cannot believe this shit again, bro. So this is take 5, bro. This is crazy as hell, bro. I'm getting pissed off at this point, right? This is take number 5. Okay. And the Aboriginals, they are out of control, gang. So right now we are dealing with the Black European sect of Aboriginals, right? We're on HOK block, and we're dealing with the Black European Aboriginal Indians, right? So, like I said, it's my 5th time going through this. We're gonna deal with some things as far as slave voyages is concerned, because um that was the topic of conversation. So they making claims. I'm showing the screen. I'm being quick here, right? Because like I said, it's my 5th time shooting this, right? So I got a little bit less patience than I had 5 shots ago, right? So what we're looking at here is modern day routes. They're trying to take modern day routes and corroborate slave routes, even though slave voyages has the maps, the routes, all of that shit, right? Their premise is almost to say there's no way all these boats made it across, right? This is what they're trying to say in the premise. And the way that they lay it out is very shallow. Very, very shallow. They don't elaborate. They just make these claims. And what happens is they get checked on. So I'm going to let these guys make some false statements. We're going to read the chat at the same time. And then we're going to go from there. Right? Woo-wee. This is crazy, y'all. This was going to be.
Was said to come through. And that's why when y'all try to come through that port, Big Chief and BCU gonna be standing right there. Cause we got to work, we had a chronology. We just knocked on the porch though. We just took y'all to the primary. Let's walk. We got the maps up.
All right, so now this part is very important, okay? Because now I'm finna show you where they went. So what you have to do, again, this website is available for everybody. So you go to Transatlantic, you click on database, and then you come here to maps. Now you got your map. And one shout out to my sister Sukla again, because the only thing she told me to do was just dig a little deeper. So that's exactly what I did. I dug a little deeper. And I did not know that they actually gonna show you the ports. So I said, okay, well shit, where do I start? So then I started with the port at the bottom, and I said, okay, if I click here, I see 700,000 slaves got on the boat.
Wait a minute. What port is this?
This is let me zoom in a little bit more. Oh, that's about as far as I can go. But it says Benguela Salinas. That sounds Spanish to me.
So a lot of these people, they say that they don't know what port they came out of. They didn't document that type of information. That information is not available. Mm-hmm. But today we want to show you that information is available. They told you couldn't go past 1870. There was a wall in your genealogy. Well, people have been going back way further than 1870. And so today we want to show and prove that there are ports in in Africa, and they are identified. So which one are you from? Let's walk.
Yeah. So we see now look at now first, before we dive into this, I want you to look at this. It says Africans returning to Africa, and it says Africans carried off, meaning they got carried off somewhere and they got off somewhere. They got off the boat. So we're gonna watch and just add the numbers. It's math. Now keep in mind, this website was built off of primary sources, and we're gonna show you what one of those primary sources look like, and that's gonna be where we close the casket at. So right here, we see roughly 700, 800,000 slaves got on and left this port. And we also see 600 to 700,000 that got off this port. Now, if we just stop right here, just on this port alone, no one ever told us that 600,000 slaves went to Africa, or at least got off at a port in Africa. if we just stop and just think about that.
All right. So, as you can see, and you see the chat ain't going. So I'm telling a nigga like, bro, this shit reads like a Tubi movie, right? This is low level Aboriginal babble. This is low level pseudo babble, y'all. This is Zeus Network, Bad Girls Club pseudo babble, right? This is not high level. This is not Denzel Washington, Mark Wahlberg, Mark Scorsese, whatever the cracker name is. It's not none of that, right? None of that. So this is low level Tubi movie, no budget, bad camera angles, shitty script, bad actors. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. So the brother looking at a source telling you that Africans disembarked in different places when obviously you're not understanding what you're looking at. So at the top it said Africans returning to Africa, and right underneath it has embarked and disembarked with the numbers 0. Nothing more, nothing less. Zilch. Then it says Africans carried off 300,000. So when the guy says, look at the Africans that showed up, and he reads the Africans that was carried off, it shows the low level cognitive ability of the Aboriginals. And this is what I want to highlight as well. Take your DNA test, get your traits understood. I need to know if you got high vitamin K, if you have low cognitive learning abilities. We need to know this, bro, so we can know how to deal with you, how to approach the situation. Because a lot of times you coming at somebody thinking that they on your level intellectually, but if they took their DNA test and they showed you their high school transcripts, you will understand they have low cognitive learning abilities and they dropped out in high school. Didn't try to work on them and try to build them and to pass a new generation a better cognitive learning ability. Nah, they didn't do that. They kept the same level and passed that shit on to the next generation. Crazy, right? Listen to the nigga. Listen to the nigga.
That right there. No one ever told us that.
They say nobody told me the world would be. Head ass nigga, like, bro, what did you saying right now, gang? You just said nobody told you about some shit that they are not saying. Like, fuck is you talking about, gang? You just said nobody told you that 600,000 Africans were brought to Africa because that shit doesn't make sense. You got what I'm saying?
In this port, we had 6,000 that left, and we had 5,000 to 6,000 that came back, that got off. Oh, 2 million that got on, and roughly 2 million that got off.
What they got on it?
They got on.
Listen
in this
to the
port,
nigga,
they
bro.
got off in this port.
Listen to the top dog over there, the Black European sect, right? He said they got on and they got off at this place. And so understand what's happening right here. They are so disingenuous with the angle and what they're trying to push, right? Nigga in the chat, I've been saying, watch the angle. Watch the agenda. And people in the chat, we don't have no angle. The information is the agenda. All this catchphrase ass shit, right? But your agenda is clear. You are anti-African. You're anti-reparations. You say the slave trade happened in reverse, right? And this is what you're trying to do. On top of that, you're trying to prove that black people in America descend from black Europeans who came over and mixed with black Indians. This is what you're trying to prove. This is your agenda. This is the angle you're going after, which is why you never left 1824. You never got off the coast of West Africa and trying to speak about Freetown and people being transported which you're saying from Europe into Africa and then back to Europe, because you're trying to lay the grounds for your Black European doctrine. That's nothing but Moorish babble. You just put the remix on a Moorish single. You didn't do nothing. You didn't even sample the beat. You used the same beat. You used the same tempo. And instead of saying Moor, you're saying Black European.
And somebody's documenting it. Hold on. We got the numbers right here.
Can we also point out Africans returning to
Yes, ma'am.
Africa, which
Oh, we're gonna
also
get to the return.
increases said number?
We're gonna get to the returnees right after he dunked this one. Throw it off the glass to her. Yeah, let's act bad. We looking like the Globetrotters tonight. Let's walk.
Now look at the name of these ports, because everybody think that the British, it was the British. These ain't
Again,
English and
he's
British
making
words.
a false statement. He's arguing straw man. No one says that. This is how you know that these Aboriginals and these Indians, they don't know history. Because the shit that they say, they're propaganda pushers. They're false premise gang propaganda pushers, right? These false premise gang propaganda pushers, they don't understand that everybody didn't get the same propaganda that you got. Everybody wasn't indoctrinated to believe the bullshit that you believe, fam. So you talking about English and British and the Dutch and all of this stuff, and you're thinking that this proves your point. Meanwhile, you're making a Moorish claim. You're trying to pull something and try to be technically correct. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to win off a technicality rather than a knockout. And that's crazy to me, because when you're dealing with the information and you bragging and you boast and you boisterous like you are, but then to try to win on a technicality, that's crazy, bro. You can't be acting like you knocking niggas out, but all your fight game is based off TKOs, bro. Like, fuck is you talking about? So that's Portuguese that you're looking at, because the Portuguese kicked off. Bro, these people don't know nothing that they talk about, and he just proves it with this statement right here. We're going to let him say it again. I don't want to put no words in this brother's mouth. And we got niggas in the chat saying, how is he lying when he's reading the database? He just put the fucking screen up. The database said it was 0 Africans that made it back to the port, and he said it was 1 million. That is how he is misrepresenting the statistic. What are you saying in the chat, bro? This Bailioso dude is
look at the name
a dick rider. And he always got something to say about what I'm saying, too. That's crazy. He be in every chat worrying about what I'm talking about.
It was the British. These ain't English and British words.
Not at all.
So look at this port.
100,000 carried off, bro. Africans carried off in the script, right? In the script. So let's move around to, all right, he shows the methodology page, right? He shows the methodology page. Don't really talk about it too much.
Left and departed in Florida. He left and departed in New York. He left and departed in California. It's the same damn thing. And if you think different, that's fine. So we'll be up here to take your questions.
So, like I said, he made reference to 17 or 1800s Freetown. He's talking about thousands and millions of Africans coming back to Africa. This is what he's saying. Okay. And the lady earlier said 45,000 Africans. He said 36. She said 45. The website says 91,491. So again, this is a cognitive learning ability that these people lack. Okay. So I'm going to go straight off slave voyages, right? I'm not going to go too hard. I'm just going to go straight off slave voyages. Okay. We're going to go to, I'm going to share my screen right here. Okay. We clicked on the blog pages. And when we clicked on the blog pages for slave voyages, it takes us to voyage stories, right? So the voyage stories that we got here is from Kate McMahon, right? It's dated April 6, 2023. Okay. Cape Town, South Africa. Okay. So this right here, this right here depicts, or this is explaining a Portuguese slave ship. Okay. That was off the coast, made it off the way of the coast of Brazil, carrying 512 enslaved Mozambicans. Okay. Despite the crew's best efforts to navigate the storm, they smashed against the rocky ledge 100 meters out in a small bay, while the crew and over 200 enslaved managed to use a line to make it to shore. More than half of the enslaved people perished. Those who survived were sold into slavery. Okay? So when you see disembarked, embarked, and the numbers are slightly different, it's because there are casualties. Okay? For those who survived, they were sold into slavery. Okay? The Slave Wrecks Project is an international network of researchers and institutions that search for slave shipwrecks and takes a collaborative international approach, looking at sites, histories, and legacies connected with their voyages. SWP is hosted by the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, which coordinates the project with the George Washington University. Other international partners include Diving with a Purpose and the U.S. National Park Service. SWP seeks to bring the immensity of the history to a human scale, voyage by voyage. Okay, it's primary. The crew list for the last voyage, right? Primary. Okay, and this right here, he says the SWP is dedicated to remembering history as well as charting other unfinished journeys. The São José left Portugal 1794. Its owner was a prominent Portuguese merchant who owned a large merchant house and estate on the Lisbon River. It was captained by Manuel João, I don't know how to say that name, and had a total of 35 crew members, bro. So you got the 35 crew members that left the Portuguese capital of Mozambique, where 512 enslaved Mozambicans left, and about half made it to Brazil. Again, on December 27th, caught in a storm off the coast of Cape Town, it crashed into submerged rocks 100 meters off the shore. A rescue was attempted, and the captain, crew, and approximately half of the slaves were saved. The remaining Mozambique captains perished in the waves. On December, Manuel submitted his official testimony before the court and described the wrecking incident. He accounted for the loss of property. The surviving Mozambicans were resold into slavery in the Western Cape. So, right here, we dealing with actual history. Actual testimony, court records from a captain of a slave ship speaking on him missing out on property, gang. How is the slave trade false? How can you not find records for ships? How is there no evidence for these voyages and you claiming this stuff when we have testimony? Right? The enslaved people were treated as commodities rather than human beings, bro. After the wreck, 11 captives died, and the remaining 100 were sold for 30 pieces of 8 each. Come on, bro. At the Cape, the term Mozambique, or probably Mozambique, was often attached to enslaved people arriving from Mozambique, basically just calling them Mozambicans. No distinction was made as to tribal groupings, except for the Dutch East Indian Company's so-called company slaves. Names were not recorded on arrival, and the new names were given. So unless you were a company slave, when you arrived, you were given a new name. Again, this is valuable information that we can be gaining from reading actual material, not from watching YouTube zealots. No, we need actual materials. So if somebody was to say, we don't have no evidence of ships and all this stuff, slave wrecks project. You know, I'm big out here. I have a lot of pool, so I'm just letting y'all know this is going to be a topic of conversation for the next 3 to 4 weeks on all Aboriginal platforms. They're going to be denying slave voyages. They're going to be talking about no documents, no slave documents, no manifests from the ships, and they're going to act like we don't have any ships, right? All because Lucky beat their head in with a source. Pause. That's what we're dealing with, right? So I'm 20 minutes in. I'm rounding out. I'm trying not to spend as much time on this, right? Trying not to spend as much time on this as I did in the other videos. But at the same time, we got to understand the database, y'all. So when they pulled it out, they cherry picked some fuck shit, and they tried to say that the data based inside this stated that there was only 36,000 Africans came to America. So this is what these niggas tried to say, right? This is why I'm telling y'all that they don't read. And if they do read, they have low cognitive learning ability. Okay, we're not going to read the first sentence and then move around. That's not what we're going to do here, okay? I'm going to leave this in the description, okay? So we're going to pick up from here. A steady stream of European peoples migrated to the Americas between 1492 and the early 19th century. But what is often overlooked is that before 1820, perhaps 3 times as many enslaved Africans crossed the Atlantic as the Europeans. So prior to 1820, that means 200 years ago, gang, over 200 years ago, there has already been 3 times as many Africans crossing the Atlantic as Europeans, bro. But you trying to tell somebody about a European slave trade and the numbers being off with the African slave trade. Please explain again. Right? So, again, we got to understand what the hell we're even looking at when we're looking at these data sets, gang. So the Genesis, okay, I'm highlighting this as well. Matter of fact, I'm blowing this up. The Genesis and History of Voyage database is laid out on a separate page. In this essay, we wish to alert users to its structure and to its limitations as well as its strengths. So if you need to know the limitations and the strengths of the database or the data set on slave voyages, this article was written for you. The data set contains thousands of names of ship owners and ship captains, but it contains almost no names of the millions of slaves that arrived. On the other hand, this website provides the African names of and personal information of 91,491 captives. Again, the website does provide the African name of and personal information for 91,491 captives who were found on board slave vessels detained by naval cruisers attempting to suppress the slave trade in the 19th century. What don't you understand about 91,000 documented African names? This is what we're talking about. Not the amount of Africans that came, the amount of names and personal information for these 91,000 Africans. That's what we're talking about. And you see here, the details of more than 36,000 voyages presented here greatly facilitate the study. Right? So, I'm going to go to my rebut, right? Because they act like they couldn't even address what I was saying, right? So we're going to shut a tab and let them go.
It's from different angles. So I guess at what point of the presentation, so that way I can make sure I
Because
harp on.
So I'm about to beat this shit up.
They clear. Are you saying that there was no buying and selling of human flesh that came across from that wide mass continent to the Americas?
No, ma'am, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What I am saying though is that according to the records, only 45,315 left Africa, and the majority of those people were
Listen
not
to the
African.
premise, because
When they
this
left
is
Europe
important.
and went into
They
Africa,
don't address what you claim, and when you start talking directly on what they claim, they say, I don't know what you're talking about, brother. He not making no sense. All this gaslighting ass shit because niggas running.
$315 left Africa, and the majority of those people were not African. When they left Europe and went into Africa, their status changed when they decided to leave Africa and come to America. And this is according to the site. All of that data is there. The only thing I'm doing is verbalizing what's on that website.
Okay, so can I take a step forward with you in terms of the data that you showed? Because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
clicked on one of the links that was in the. Did yours say 1817?
No.
Okay, so we're looking probably at a different database. There was another link that was dropped in, but I wanted to. You remember when you pulled up something about, and you said something about, I want to show you guys the names of the ship vessels that went from Europe to West Africa. Do you remember that? And you said there were a total of 19, I think you said?
I don't remember that part, man.
The very last thing that you ended with, right? You mentioned
about the
Book of
African
Fourth.
prince. They had the African
Oh,
prince.
okay. That record. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm trying to, like, it's been.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Let me go back to
Walk
the
you through
source.
it. Don't me do that.
All right.
Hey, y'all hit the like out there. Get the like shot. Get the likes up for Saneter.
So just not. Oh, sorry.
And share the video.
My bad.
Mhm.
Now you good, Queen.
Right there.
Okay. Can you explain why? Just remind me why you were showing this source. What were you trying to prove or say?
Okay. So what I was trying to prove was that in traditional education, and speaking from the Pan-African concept, no one ever told us that slaves were going from Europe to Africa. So this right here literally says a list of ships employed in the trade to Africa from the port of Bristol in the year 1749. And it literally says number of slaves. No one ever told us that slaves left Europe, because if we tried to flip this and say these people were African, then what we would then be saying is that the Europeans left Europe, went to Africa, picked up the slaves, took them back to Europe, and then brought them back to Africa.
So I'm not
That wouldn't
focused
make
on
any
this
sense.
source. I will be linking YK the Truth's video in this description as well. YK just touched on this source. This source that he's just saying, his whole claim that he makes is trash. Okay. YK the Truth beat that up. I'm not even going to go into that. The brother did a great job. I guess I'm just going to refer you to that video. I'm going to leave that in the description, as well as the Slave Voyages website and Saneter link as well. I'm leaving all this in the description. You can check it out. But I advise you, at this point in the video, if you want to see a nigga get beat up again with his own source, stop what you doing after you done with watching my shit and go watch YK the Truth. He just addressed this. Okay.
And what some people tell today. So, in closing, I'll land by saying this. What I'm trying to illustrate is that this right here is a primary source. This is parchment paper. This is what they wrote on back then. What we use today.
With that name and tongue.
One white man named John Hawkins, right? Hawkins, that means that white man owned one of your relatives and gave him that name. That don't mean.
So when I click on the year arrived with slaves from 1731 colonization. So right here we got of the actual Africans that. So
That shit up.
Yeah, you got to. Hey, bro,
speaking.
hold on. This is the Indians' Day, so you got to ask them, is it all right if you would like to share your screen? I always do this to everybody.
Tell them chunk it up. Chunk that shit up.
Yeah, you got.
I'm an Indian too, sir. You know what I'm saying? They call me.
He's an Indian too. Okay.
Yeah.
So I ain't no Indian, man, with a face like that. Yeah, not with a face like that. I ain't never seen a tribe with a face like that,
man.
Yeah, I actually got Mesoamerican DNA, so you see how that work?
All right, see, there you go. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so as you can see right here, man, we're looking at the database of the actual Africans that they have. And this is not all the Africans that ever was enslaved. This database is very specific what it says, right? So it has over 36,000 voyages, right? And on these 36,000 voyages, they have over 90,000 documented Africans, right? So we don't got to play with it. We can just go straight to it, right? So we can see the African ID top right or top left-hand corner, right? And when you click these things, it puts it in a certain sort for the column for you, right? So the brother, he was staying in the 1800s. And he kept talking about free towns and all that type of stuff. But if you take it back further, you know what I'm saying, you'll really get to see the full story of colonization. So right here, we got Solomon, you know what I'm saying? Everybody knows about this brother right here.
Use your mouse so we can see it. So when you see when you
so right here we got brother Suleiman, right? We know him.
There you go. I see it. We see it.
We see that brother. We know that brother. He from 1731 was when he was arrived, right? We can see that on the top. 1731 it arrived. The intended disembarkment, right? We got that. So everybody is understanding we're on the same page about how to read these documents, right? So we don't have to get played with when we talking about this, right? So they said there was no slaves that came here pre, I want to say 1619 was what the brother was saying, right? So if we look at just another page on slave voyages, right? Now this is just a transatlantic slave database itself. So when I click on the year arrived with slaves, it take me to 1514 to the top, the population of the top of the list.
Your screen not sharing no more.
It ain't sharing no more. Hold on, son.
Nah, it just went off.
All right, hold up. Do me back. Hold up. Because I ain't even going nowhere. I'm still on slave voyages with it. I think he kicked the screen, little kid. All right. Y'all good.
All right. We got Indian debunking Indian. Oh, shit.
Okay, so my screen back up, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you see we got 1520, right? We got 1520. We got Santa Maria de la Luis. Okay. Principal places where the captives landed. San Juan. The captives arrived at the port was 44 in 1520, right? Just in case somebody that wants to do some more research, you see it say voyage ID. You can click on that voyage ID, right? And when you click on that voyage ID, it'll populate for you the metadata. What it's showing you is the metadata from the actual document itself. So it'll tell you the voyage completion. It'll tell you when it embarked, from where it embarked. You see what I'm saying? It'll tell you how many got off the ship versus how many got on the ship. Look, it even tell you Saneter, the captives carried from the first port, captives carried from the second port. You see what I'm saying? It's very detailed. So we'll have to do a better job of trying to misrepresent the information, because we just too smart in this chat room, Si. You see what I'm saying? So the brother said wasn't no slaves here. We ain't even left 1532, and we over 500. You see what I'm saying? So again, I want to.
Hey, can you start naming some names or something, or putting, because the way that
right,
I don't know if it's your methodology.
Showing slides,
yeah, but we're not understanding.
Look,
he's not saying anything. We're not understanding
so
what
he's saying or what he's going and all that shit.
I would even challenge to say, the brother, that
my resource is the exact
resource
same.
was actually far
He
more
said resource,
specific
right?
than yours.
It's the exact same one we're looking at. So what happened was, I just disposed of the whole entire narrative they was running with, right? They were misrepresenting the source. They weren't looking at the database correctly, and they were lying on the actual sources themselves. So when I showed specifically, right, because I was jumping in between databases, right? You got the African names, like the African origins database, where you can find the people, or you can go through the voyage database, right? So what we're looking at is right here, right here, top of the screen. Pay attention to the columns. I'm gonna leave this in the description. Principal places where captives were purchased, right? Places where vessels, you know what I'm saying, began. Places where captives were purchased. Okay. So if the vessel leaves with 35 on the crew, and that's all that's on the ship, and they purchase captives on the Congo River, that would mean those people on that boat came from the Congo River, nigga. Not where the boat came from, nigga. That's what I'm showing on the screen. And I'm also showing the database of over 90,000 Africans that you keep saying is 40.
Showing,
Saneter know I'm
showing
showing shit.
slides, Top
Yeah, but
Cat.
we
So,
not
but he's giving them that way to get out. That's why I said it's aid in the bed, sir. You catching a charge for last night, bro. You catching a charge, okay? You know what I'm saying? You will be tried by a jury of your peers. So we're gonna have to get Garfield and Q Butter. I'm just playing.
And then he's not saying anything. We're not understanding what he's saying or where he's going.
I would even challenge to say, good brother, that his resource was actually far more specific than yours. His resource detailed the numbers of people by who was on that ship and their ethnicity. Your ship manifests just as where they came from, as an embarkation. His also noted their origins. The origins is what's most important. A true African is in the 45,000s. There's plenty who left Europe, went into Africa, and came out of Africa. And that is what we were trying to tell you.
She's
I'm
glad I
glad you discovered what
it.
you
Listen to
did.
the
Now open
disingenuity.
your
This
mind.
is how you know people don't listen. Sister, you're chasing personalities. You know what I'm saying? And I feel sorry for the sisters who get caught up in that. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you in a bad relationship. You just let a nigga lie to you and all of that. And anybody else who say something to you about them or let you know that you're being lied to, they the person that gets the brunt of your emotional trauma, you know. So the chat, they let it be known, bro. I spent 4 minutes, gang. 4 minutes on the screen share. And I was trying to share my screen from the time he opened the panel up because they run away from their claims so often. So he was already trying to run into the Black European claim, and I wasn't even trying to focus on that. I was trying to focus on the fact that you said the database numbers was incorrect, and you was looking at the charts and referencing the columns all the way incorrect. That was my focus when I first hit the panel. Then when I started to notice you were lying and misrepresenting and running and all that stuff, then I started to make mental notes of other things we're gonna bring up because this is somewhere in Appleville, right? We on HOK block and we dealing with slave voyages. But we also dealt with Manila Galleon last night. We also dealt with Ancestry DNA white papers. So be on the lookout, right? Because we on a trail. The chat ain't going for it. They see them niggas running. You see Nomadic say, dude ended it, bro. Very good, Guzman. Dude ended it. Okay? I ended this shit, bro, in 2 seconds. Motherfuckers in the chat telling somebody you're not understanding because they telling me I ain't say nothing. Right? Motherfuckers say, beat him up, look. Right? The guy letting them know, bro, y'all only clicked on the first port. Y'all never looked at nothing else. You was trying to prove a point. You were pushing an angle, trying to prove Black Europeans, bro. That's why I let you speak just then, even though I'm not going to address that because YK did it. Okay? Go watch the YK video if you want to watch that brother misquote that source. I'm not doing that. That shit says Gold Coast and all kind of shit on it, bro. I'm not doing that with you niggas. So Now they arguing with their own source, gang. Look, he
Mind
want
get rid of
betrayer.
your
I'm trying to go in,
narrative and
betrayer.
ask yourself,
But
who
Saneter,
are the
if you could see, bro, my screen was shared. I go to highlight something on my screen because she's saying something, right? So I go to be like, bro, listen, we can do this in real time. And as I go to do that, Saneter takes my my source off the screen, puts the other guy's source up, then like backtracks, puts my source on the screen for 10 seconds and says, we're moving on. You know what I'm saying? Like wrap it up, nigga, type shit. So you saved them, Si. You do got to charge. You see what I'm saying? But depending on what we got, it might be a misdemeanor. You know what I'm saying? We might let you out time served.
those numbers that came from that place? And where did they originally come from? Thank you.
So,
All
sister,
right.
they originally came from Africa, and it's actually 90,736 entries into this specific database itself. Right. Just for the chat, because I know the chat, they want to make sure everything is factual. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Black for
No,
what?
hold on, wait. No, it's all
Yeah,
it's all
'cause
good.
I
Hold
Who's
on,
that?
hold on. Let me
Sawfish?
let this forward.
Go ahead, Sawfish.
Listen,
All
first
right,
of
y'all. So
all,
I'm
the
good.
premise of what you
You feel
said was
me?
wrong, bro.
I'm not finna keep going in. This was part one. Somewhere in Aboville. Okay. Please don't let these guys lie to you no more. Look, somebody in the chat telling me I did not look at the metadata. I pulled up metadata, bro. What are you saying? See, this is why people in the chat gotta stay in the chat. Like when you come on the panel, you're expected to know what you're talking about. When you're in the chat and you saying that shit, it's just in the chat, right? You know what I'm saying? You learn it. But if you was to hit that link and say that goofy ass shit, bro, niggas will laugh you out the gym, gang. So this was an episode. This was a quick episode, right? Somewhere in Aboville, they say the dumbest shit, right? They say the dumbest things. Okay. So we put it to rest today, fellas. 36,000 voyages. 91,491 captives. That's what the database shows. Not 40,000, not 36,000, not 23,000 Africans. 91K. Okay, I want y'all to focus on the fact that they misrepresented sources claiming they disembarked in Africa, and they claim Black Europeans left Europe, went to Africa, and got the title African because of its status. Listen to these guys. All right, I don't put shit in they sentences. I let them say it they self, bro. I let them say it they self. We on the transatlantic slave voyages. I'm putting it in I'm putting the database methodology in the chat. I'm putting the source to the blog post that I read in the chat from the McMahon lady. And I'm gonna let these guys. I'm gonna let them get out of here with, just because of, I don't want y'all to think I just like came up there for nothing, right? I'm gonna go all the way to the beginning. I'm gonna give you the last 10 minutes of the shit, right? I'm gonna give you the first 10 minutes of the shit. I'm out of here. So Guzman, hopefully we get you up on the panel when it opens. You got a lot to say. I say watch for the angle they try to push, right? So Lance Ward, I hope you paid attention, brother.
Here in a second, and I want to start by looking at the database. So if you're following along, or if you're just watching, the first thing you could do is click on transatlantic and then click on database and then click on tables. And right here, the numericals that are coming out of Europe. So I want you to move to this column filter and change this to broad region, where the voyage began. So that lets us know literally where the voyage began. And if you want, you can get granular by clicking the region, and it'll kind of break it down by continent and country. And if you want to get it all the way down to the port, you can see how many people came out of a port. But for simple math, and to keep this real brief, because it don't really take much, the numbers speaks for themselves. So over the course of a 25-year period, I want to see where this voyage began, and I want to see how many slaves embarked or got on the boat. Well, if we look over here to Europe, we see roughly 5.2 million slaves now, slavevoyages.org.
Hold on. Watch this here, family. Let's start here. I think let's walk them down from a place that they understand, right? So in history, they teach us that 1619, right? We'll go there. We're gonna save this one right here for them.
All right.
Let's go in order to what they'll understand. 1619, the first slaves were said to come here in Virginia. If we wanted to find that information, what method would we take in looking through this database?
Oh, okay. So what we would do is rather than looking at this from a 25-year period, we would break it down to, like, let's say 5-year increments. And then you can see, so there were none that came to mainland North America during this time. So let's just keep going.
When we say the times, let's look at the dates. Let's give them the dates.
Yeah. So the first slaves, according to slavevoyages.org, which he built this off of primary sources, 200 slaves came between 1641 and 1645.
Okay,
that was the first
now
time they came to America.
1641, right? Now the 1619 narrative. Do we have any proof in slave voyages that that any slaves got off a boat in Virginia?
Well, this is mainland North America, so they talking about the United States. So
Correct.
if we look here at 1616 to 1620, they got zero.
Okay. What about the Caribbean? I see they have the Caribbean there as well. They said the slaves left Africa and stopped in the Caribbean first and then came over. So what about in the Caribbean? How many stopped over in 1619?
1619, zero.
Wow. Okay, let's walk. Brazil.
But we do see, oh, go ahead.
What about Brazil?
So we got Brazil. So we're going to go all the way across. Yeah, zero.
16, okay, zero.
But we got some that came before, but yeah.
Right. But for 1619, we see zero embarking in America, which will take away your 1619 project. We'll edify on that a little later. Okay, let's walk. How about Africa? Okay. At this time, how many?
As like I said, I didn't lie on these guys. These guys misrepresented the sources, right? So I'm in the database, right? I said I was gone, but I'm really gone for real. So we're on the voyages database. Okay, year arrived with slaves. It's in the top left-hand corner, right here. Okay. Again, these are the results of voyages, which is why it says 36,079 entries, because there were 36,079 documented voyages that they have the records for. There are obviously more than that, but this is the database. So when people say the 36,000 number, they're speaking about voyages, not Africans, bro. So the place where the vessel began, okay, would be the place that the ship took off from. The principal place, which means the main place, the principal region where captives were purchased. In the principal region where captives were landed. So what we see here is something left from Seville, purchased slaves in the Cape Verde Islands, and went on to Veracruz. We see here somebody left Cadiz, purchased slaves in Cape Verde, and left to Cartagena. And the captives arrived at the first port 202, 1562. Okay, we got the place the vessel began, Plymouth. Captives purchased in Sierra Leone. They were taken to Dominican Republic, fam. So let's go directly. We're gonna go directly where gang was at. So we in a 25-year period, broad regions of no, I don't want broad regions of disembarkment. I want people that got on, right? Principal place of landing, broad regions of disembarkment, specific regions of disembarkment, embarkment regions. So where people got on it. I don't want to know where the voyage began because we know voyages began in Europe, making their way to the coast of Africa and from Africa on into Americas. We know this. So we don't want to know where the port began per se. Let's look at the embarkment regions. Maybe that will help us, right? So the embarkment regions. Sum of embarked slaves, right? Average number of embarked slaves, number of voyages, percent of embarked slave, average number of voyages. Let's just leave the sum, right? Just leave it simple. So what we're doing here is we're debunking in real time fake Indians. So right here we have embarkment regions. That would mean that these columns will house the places that slaves embarked from. Clear as day, we have Jamaica. We have Senegambia, offshore Atlantic. We have Sierra Leone. We have the Windward Coast. We have the Gold Coast. We have the Bight of Benin, the Bight of Biafra, West Central Africa and St. Helena, Southeast Africa and the Indian Ocean. Other African places, we've got Asia, okay? Europe is not on the list at all. I repeat, Europe is not on the list at all. Total, 10,595,791 embarked slaves. You have from Southeast Africa, 409,000 roughly. From West Central Africa, you got 3.4 million, roughly. You got from Biafra, you got 1.1 million. From Benin, you got 1.5 million. These are places that embarked with slaves. Do you understand? Stop with the finesse, bro. Stop with the finesse. So the voyage can begin. Make purchases somewhere else and get up out of there, fam. So check this out. This is also in the database. This is the principal place of purchase. These columns will show you the principal places of purchase. Okay? The principal places of purchase. And maybe y'all don't know what that means. Principal, okay, the definition, right? The definition, which I'm not expecting Aboriginals to understand, is first in order of importance, main. That is what principal means. The principal means the first in an order of importance, or the main. So when it says principal place of purchase, it's literally saying main point of purchase. Literally, that's what it's saying. Main point of purchase. First, in order of importance of purchases. The most important, the main place of purchasing slaves, gang. That means, where did you purchase these people from? Senegambia, Kingston, Jamaica, Portugal, not Portugal, Portugal. That is a colony. That is a city and a colony off the coast of Africa, bro. Portuguese Guyana, the Rio Grande, St. Louis, French Africa, Cabo Verde, the Canaries, Senegambia, the Banana Islands, okay, off the Windward Coast. We're still off the Windward Coast, gang. Sugaree, Sierra Leone, the Windward Coast. We still off the Windward, bro. Cape Grand Mount, okay, Little Bassa, which a lot of people came from Little Bassa. We know that. All these places are documented, right? This is documentation right here, gang. Gold Coast, right? I have yet to see a principal place of purchase in Europe. Okay? I have yet to see a principal place of purchase in Europe. So your premise is way incorrect, Swordfish. I know you're speaking on mine, but you said what you said, gang, and it was factually inaccurate. They did not leave Europe with Africans already on board. They did not leave Europe with captives already on board. They did not purchase anybody from Europe and bring them to Africa. That is fake. That's a lie. And like I said, these guys have low cognitive learning ability, right? Because all I did was copy what this brother did, right? He's on the transatlantic slave trade database. He clicked on tables, and he's looking in the rows and the columns of these tables, and he's misrepresenting the source. I don't know what more you need to see, but I'm signing out, gang. This is over with. You know what I'm saying? I'm 57 minutes in on Somewhere in Aboville, right? Somewhere in Aboville. Or I might even title this something else, bro. So, but I think I like this. This would be a good Somewhere in Aboville. Peace. Shout out to the gang. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all support. Not a coincidence. That brother be going in. He support. He fight the good fight. You know what I'm saying? Y'all support. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence 2.0. You know what I mean? Mossad Warrior Clan, Sean P. Chris Harris MVP. And my brother Kofi Potside TV. My dog Sutek. You know what I'm saying? These is good, wholesome brothers who put in real work. You know what I mean? Brother Q Butter. You know what I'm saying? Brother Garfield. You know what I'm saying? Brother Chris. These are the guys who put in that real work. So Aboriginals. Brother Unc, he putting in real work. So Aboriginals. Stop running. Let Saneter know that when Big Guzman come around, just go ahead and kick me off the panel because y'all running. Y'all don't want to accept smoke, right? Y'all want to fake. Y'all wrestlers, bro. Y'all want to have choreographed smoke and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So stop letting these guys choreograph some BS. Let's stand on business. You understand what I'm saying? Let's stand on information. And let's kick these pseudos in the ass. You know what I'm saying? So it's your boy Luck, this Big Guzman. I'm signing out. Tap in, gang. I'm going up. Also follow me on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? I do have my Spotify going up. You know what I mean? A couple thousand listeners right now. I only got 2 songs out. I'm working on content creation. I got my website, luckyguzman.xyz. I've been on the blockchain for 2.5, going on 3 years now, actively. You know what I'm saying? So Yeah, tap in, gang. We on the bigger and better thing. LuckyGuzman.xyz, npmlucky.xyz. And you can follow me on Twitter or x.com/h2g_1 or npmlucky.btc on all social media sites. Again, npmlucky.btc on all social media sites. Fuck with me.